back to another episode of the Seeing Better podcast. I'm here with you on Saturday, and it's once again raining. And for those of you who don't live in California, you're probably thinking, that's crazy. It's always sunny in California. But if you live here, you know that it's been raining for several weeks, and it's generally glooming for like 6 months out of the year, especially in June. So if you're coming to California in June, don't expect it to be sunny because it's usually gloomy. We call it June gloom here, but today it's raining, so it's a perfect day for me to be recording. I also got tennis canceled, so no better time to get on the mic than today. So might as well just hop right into it. So today's podcast is about a topic, or a book rather, that had inspired me to speak on some of my thoughts on being a linchpin. So for anyone who is not familiar, I thought I would go through what the definition of a linchpin is. A linchpin literally is a pin passed through the end of an axle to keep a wheel in position. So it's a fixed point where you're able to keep something in position. So that's what an actual linchpin is. So it's exactly what it sounds like. But a person being a linchpin is a person or thing that is vital to an enterprise or an organization. And I had first heard about this concept after reading the book Linchpin, Are You Indispensable by Seth Godin. This is an absolutely incredible book. And like most self-development books or business books, the thesis and the big idea is in the name. So you don't necessarily have to read the book, although I do recommend it if you are open to that. However, I wanted to give you a few ideas on how I believe you can be a linchpin in any industry. And these concepts can really go as far and wide as being an entrepreneur, to working in an organization, to just being better at your craft overall. So I have a few ideas of how we can go about doing this. First and foremost, adopt a solution-oriented mindset. Now, this also could be called a growth mindset, so both things work. But being a solution-oriented person allows you to find solutions instead of finding problems. I want to bring a concept to the table of being above the line. Now, this is something I learned recently, but generally most people sit at the average. So let's just call it the 50%. You want to be above the line in every situation. You want to be going above and beyond in every situation to be able to bring proper solutions to whatever it is you're working on. And this could be personally, professionally, whatever the case. And you want to be somebody who's looking for the solutions because quite naturally, most people can find the problems. And you know those people that you work with that are finding the problems. They're constantly complaining. They always have some sort of an issue and ultimately aren't able to come to a solution faster because they're so mired in the problems. So you want to be somebody who's always on the lookout for a way that you can improve processes, systems, operations. So perhaps you find that there is a lack of meeting efficiency at your company. Well, one way you can do that is first and foremost, identifying that it's an issue and bringing it to the table. Meet with some of the stakeholders that you work with and potentially propose a couple of different adaptations. It could be as simple as bringing an agenda to the table with every meeting, or shortening the meeting to 25 minutes instead of 30 minutes. Whatever the case may be, you're the one who's there to bring the solutions to the table, and you're not going to be the one that's complaining. That's absolutely essential if you want to be a linchpin. The amount of complaining that is done in today's day is really out of control, if you're asking me. We are human, so we are actually adapted to look for those issues immediately when we wake up. But if you're able to go above the line and say, okay, there's a lot of tension going on here within this group of people. I want to be that light. I want to be that source of inspiration and optimism within this group of people. Then be that person. And effectively, you'll be able to actually share that light and that generation with other people. So always have the mindset that you're going to be the solution-oriented person. It also shows that you're mature. It's easy to get bogged down in gossip or in inefficiency or complaining or whatever it may be. And it takes a special person and somebody who's especially mature to say, while this may be bothering me right now, I'm actually going to put my own feelings aside and decide to take the better path. That's huge, and that actually shows a ton of growth. If you're not somebody who necessarily possesses this at the moment, number one, thank you for being self-aware. I too can be that way at times as well. If you're able to be self-aware and build a bridge to get over it, so to speak, you will be surprised at how many people will be attracted to you for doing that. If you're able to grow and overcome that block that you had in the past, you're going to be attracting things your way that you would have never thought would have been possible. Just wait and see what happens there. Another way you can be a linchpin is to hang out around people who exhibit the behaviors that you want, or maybe have the job or title that you want. Now, it's not always possible to do this necessarily on a one-on-one basis, but if you're really inspired by Warren Buffett and the way that he's been able to diversify his portfolio over time, and some of the adaptations he's making in real time with AI is really incredible. So if you want to get to that point in your life at some point, you can still be around Warren Buffett. You might not be in his living room, but you can certainly read his books. You can learn how he's made adjustments to his portfolio. You can, I believe there's a yearly conference that he does that some people like to tune into. I want to say that it's broadcasted, but go and look for people that you aspire to be like. Be around those people. Do not be around the people who are below the line. And we send them so much love and support. And, I think we can all relate to that at times. But you don't want to be around the people who can't find a solution, who are procrastinators, who talk badly about people behind their back, and who are not in their integrity. You really want to be with people who are after the mission that they're going for, that are determined to get to the place where they want to be, and who have demonstrated that they can do that. So that's one way to get a little bit closer to being a linchpin. If you're able to be around those people, you're automatically going to be closer to however they are acting. So for me, when I'm playing tennis, I want to be around people that are actually far better than I am. I've always found this, that whenever I play with better tennis players, I inevitably become better because of it. If I'm with people who maybe are at the same level or maybe are a little bit below my level, totally fine. And sometimes that happens and we can have a great time. But my skills build better when I'm in a state of challenge. And this is also called the proximity principle. So the closer that you are to people who have the amount of money that you're looking for, who are genuinely happy, who are results oriented, you will start to, by proxy, learn how to get there a little bit faster. And this will make you a magnet for whatever it is that you're looking for. So there is no excuse. There's no saying, well, I only come from this background, or I don't know people who are in that field. With this day and age and technology, you can get close to pretty much anyone. And there's a very interesting book that I had read. It's called The Third Door by Alex Banayan. And he's a little bit of an interesting character, I won't lie, but he basically set out on this mission when he was in college to meet all of his heroes. So he met Warren Buffett, he met Bill Gates, and a whole host of other people. And he wrote a book about how he did it. Now, while I don't think that's necessary for everyone to have to do in order to achieve success, I do think it's interesting because he was able to find a way, and the story of him actually meeting Warren Buffett was incredible because he got knocked down so many times and he kept getting back up. It's kind of like that song, Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, but that's like just a great song. If you ever feel like you're on the bottom and you need to get back up, absolutely listen to that song, because you will never be knocked down. You will always come back up. You're kind of like a punching bag in that way. You learn that there are other people in your sphere who might be on the same track as you, or even your competition, who just don't stay in the game. If you stay in the game, you'll be the last one standing. And maybe that means that you need to take a couple hits, and that's okay. But if you stay in long enough, you'll be the last one standing. That's key to being a linchpin. So always hang out around people that are better at whatever it is you're going for. And I've done this my entire life without even knowing it. I grew up always wanting to be older than I was. I'm still unpacking why that exactly is, but I always wanted to be around adults when I was a child and being around people who are very good at their jobs, even in my career, and like I said, in tennis as well, people that speak French better than I do. And I always want to be around that to raise my vibration, to raise my level. And this is what Gay Hendricks calls the ceiling in his book, The Big Leap. You might be reaching a point where you feel like you can't go any farther until you meet that person who's just a little bit more magnetic than you are, a little bit more wealthy than you are, a little bit more positive than you are. And then you believe that it's true and that you can be that too. It's so expansive to be around people like that. And being a linchpin is partly knowing that, yes, envy and jealousy may come up, but if you're able to actually look at that in awe and say, wow, I love what this person has done, and I think it's amazing that they are living in another country, or they've invented something, or they ran a marathon. How wonderful it is to be exposed to something like that, because then now you've seen that it's possible for you, that you can do that as well. And if you can shift your perspective from saying, I'm not worthy, I'm in lack, I don't believe that's possible for someone like me, and instead you envision yourself being that person, you're so much closer. You start to go on a jog in the morning. You start to film podcast content, even though you're not a quote unquote podcaster. You start tinkering around in your garage, and maybe you're a woodworker, and you start to build these amazing creations. I know a family friend of ours, and he's just kind of somebody who likes to explore things and create things, and he creates all this amazing woodwork, not for any particular reason, but just because he's genuinely excited about it. And if you're able to follow your effort, I believe, what's his name? Oh, I'll remember in a second. If you're able to follow your effort and follow where your passion is, you'll be able to get closer to that point of purpose. I find that when we ask ourselves, what's my purpose? Like, what is my point in being here? It's a little bit too lofty at times. I think there are some points in our lives where, yes, we might think, okay, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a this. But when it comes to our purpose, sometimes it can be very elusive. Like, what is my purpose? I mean, it could be something different at any time or any day. Mark Cuban, that's who I was thinking of. When Mark Cuban says follow your effort, you're able to get a little bit closer into the things that genuinely pique your interest and problems that need solving that you can accomplish. I just thought that was a very interesting way of framing it as well. Next point, stay in your lane. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you can't try a bunch of things and you can't be multi-hyphenate and multi-passionate. But what I mean by stay in your lane is, for instance, if you're Michael Phelps, it's only going to inhibit you if you're looking around at the competition while you're in your swim lane. So stay in your swim lane. Do your job. Do it to the best of your abilities, and do not get involved in office gossip or petty competition or anything that might get you off track. That's not why you're here. If you're able to get into the driver's seat and say, my purpose here is to drive this car or whatever it is, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm not looking at the other people around me. That will make you highly effective and also get the job done even faster because you know exactly where you're going. Know your strengths and amplify them. And there's a multitude of different ways that you can go about doing this. You can ask your friends and family what you're particularly good at. You can do some journaling and dissect what you've been able to accomplish in an easeful way. You can even take some different assessments like the Clifton Strengths Finders. You could do this any way you wish, but if you're able to look at your 20%, you knew I was going to say it, your 20%, whatever it is that you and only you are capable of doing, it's your superpower, your zone of genius, you're able to amplify that and get yourself on a track where you're able to accelerate. And acceleration doesn't necessarily mean you're doing more, but you're doing more of the things that make you effective. And by doing that, you will ultimately become a linchpin. On the flip side, know your weaknesses. know your weaknesses, and become self-aware. The second part is key. Some of us do know what our weaknesses are, or we know them consciously, but subconsciously we sabotage ourselves and don't admit what the real issue is all about. If you can become self-aware about those weaknesses and begin to move past them, begin to say, previously I was somebody who was very defensive and who wanted to always have to stand up for myself. But this time, I'm actually just going to take responsibility and move forward. Amazing. Amazing. You will attract the right people into your sphere. They will be the people who will want to amplify your strengths. And they will be giving you critical feedback, but that's important. And that's exactly what they should be doing. Those are the people that you want around you. They're attracted to you because of the awe that they see as part of your aura. You might be somebody has high potential and who sometimes intimidates people. And you might be somebody who sticks out in some ways. But if you're able to harness that and actually use it to your advantage, you will fast track yourself to success in whatever it is you're looking for. Become a super communicator. I think if we had to go down to the nuts and bolts of what personal development is all about, it's about communication, essentially. And also knowing yourself well enough to know how you communicate and how you can improve that. For me, I am in Toastmasters, and so I'm working on my communication on a weekly basis. I'm also starting a podcast and have started a podcast. So inevitably, I will be speaking on the mic and working on my communication skills indefinitely. And it's something that has gone in waves. There have been times where I can speak without any effort and it just comes out very well. And then other times where I feel like I am getting tripped up in my words and I can't speak with authority. But the closer I can get to that authentic place, the better I'm able to attract the right people into my sphere. So if I'm speaking about becoming a linchpin, I imagine that the people that are listening to this episode want to become more of a linchpin. And hopefully I can be an expander for you in that way. This one is a bit more tactical. Learn about your industry outside of just your organization. So there are a lot of people that I have observed over time in my career that know a lot about their specific organization, which, of course, you should know a lot about your organization. However, you need to see, again, above the line, so above just where you are in the market, and say, actually, these are the people that are doing really great things in these other areas where we are currently not. So perhaps you work at a average insurance agency and you see people doing amazing things with Super Bowl commercials and spending a lot of money on marketing and ads. You can then become an expert on what those other people are doing and bring it into your own company. May it be expensive or non-expensive, or maybe it's just an ideology. You can actually bring yourself a little bit closer to that top spot if you're able to co-opt the behaviors and the learnings from those people at the top of their game. And I love doing this by reading biographies, learning on podcasts, just speaking to other people about how they got to where they are, and hopefully pulling out some of those insights and then bringing them to the table here so then you can learn about becoming a better version of yourself as well. Be easy to work with. I'm going to take a second there. Be easy to work with. This is easier said than done. And if you're an easy person to work with, you will have a multitude of opportunities come your way. It's not about being a pushover, but it's about being somebody who can see both sides of a situation, take accountability for their part in any situation, and knowing that we work with other people. I know AI is going to only explode even more, but we're going to continue to be working with people, and you have to be able to work with other people in order to achieve success. Point blank. That's the end of the story. There are so many people with high IQs and very low EQs. And it's incredible to see how that shakes out in the workplace. And if only those people could harness their EQ and elevate themselves out of that ceiling, they would be unstoppable. Like, they would be absolute geniuses. So be aware of some of your triggers, your blind spots, your shadow, and work with them. I love doing this with my To Be Magnetic process through their app and through their manifestation meditations. But you can find your own way to work with this. Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it's receiving feedback from work. But just know any information that you're hit with can be used as leverage. The obstacle is the way. So if you're able to take the building blocks off of this wall, you're able to find a clear path to where you want to go. So don't let those things hold you back from being the best version of yourself wherever you go. Also, when you're feeling good, you attract great things. That's what manifestation is all about. And if you're able to feel better, you're able to do better. Focus on building relationships, not just a Rolodex. A Rolodex is something that I wasn't even alive for, but I just know is a term that people use. So what I mean by this is build relationships with people. Actually get to know them. Be somebody who can say what the names of their kids are. Know who they are and what they bring to the table, what they appreciate, what they believe in. And not just phone numbers, addresses, contacts, LinkedIn connections. You really want people to be able to speak about you when you're not in the room. Like, what do they say? Do they say this person has genuine integrity and will speak with honesty? Is it that you have a difficult time working with other people? Is it that you are an absolute expert in your field and should be hired? You want to be able to build a relationship that goes beyond just saying that you're connected with somebody on LinkedIn, because that won't always go as far as you think it will. Take accountability for everything. Everything can be your fault. And if you can take accountability for that, you will be surprising people in a way that you would have never expected, and in a great way. There are many people who do not take accountability for their actions or their behavior or their energy, and they block opportunities from coming their way. If you can take accountability for your space and your actions, many people will actually think very highly of you for doing that. Even if you made a mistake, that's saying that I take accountability for this. And if you want to go one step further and being an even better linchpin, it's about taking accountability, but also doing better because of it. If you can actually learn from your mistakes, you're shooting up right to the top of the pile. There are so many people that, number one, will not take accountability and who will just be defensive and say, no, that's not me, that's not my fault, and deflect and maybe even put other people under the bus. But if you can take accountability for whatever your part was in a situation, imagine what will come to you because of that. And if you can change your behavior and improve upon it, you're showing growth and potential that most of your other peers do not have. Bring the cherry on top to just about everything. And I know Ed Milet talks about this being the power of one more. So if you're going to be building a report, how can you add one extra layer to it that brings an insight or a level of value that nobody else would? If you're giving a presentation, how can you bring some sort of unique element to that makes people want to remember you and be around you? How can you create a solution for one more thing? And this leads me to my conclusion, which is, if you can add value more than anything, you will be the leader of your pack. And that doesn't mean that you need to stomp on other people or discredit them for their work. Nothing of the sort, but if you can add more value and have the intention to be in service, you will get where you want to be. And if you stay in the game long enough, you will get there. If you quit and if you decide that you are below the line, you'll see yourself out of the game. If you at least stay slightly above the line and continue to be there and continue to edge your way a little bit incrementally, you will get to the place where you're still standing. You're still standing and all of your other competitors are gone. They've left the building. They've decided that their ego is going to get the best of them, but you're still there. You get knocked down a million times, you get back up 1,000,001. This is how you become a linchpin. I loved this topic. I highly recommend the book, Linchpin by Seth Godin, if you want to learn more. He's an expert marketer and an amazing author. It's a New York Times bestseller. I'd be happy to dive into this topic even more if you have any questions. Please go over to the seeingbetterpod@gmail.com email if you have any questions or if you want to drop me a line. Please subscribe and share this podcast if it was a value to you and could be a value to any of your friends or family. I'd be happy to see more people in listenership on Seeing Better. And until then, I hope you'll be seeing better in the coming days. Thank you and bye.